In this video, I'm going to describe how to complete the Commuting and Home Working survey form. For most organisations, you will only be asked to complete the survey once a year. You will enter details of a typical week, which will be scaled up to determine an annual figure, and combined with the submissions from all your colleagues to produce an annual emissions figure for the organisation. You will have received an email containing a link to GHGi Commuting, your organisation's account ID, as well as your username and password. It also contains a link to two videos, this one, and one to a video explaining how to measure commuting distances for different types of transport. The email will also specify the start and end dates of the period for which details of your commute are requested. The period is normally 12 months in length, although some organisations may wish to collect this information every 6 months or even every quarter. As an aside, we do recommend that you reset your password as soon as possible. This is done using the Reset Password button. To access the survey, enter your organisation's account ID, your username and password. Then click Login, which takes you to the survey form. The first question is typically, how did you travel to work during the period? Most people have only one means of transport, car, bus, motorcycle perhaps. If so, leave the radio button set at one main transport type and select your means of transport from the drop-down list. As you can see, there are quite a few options to choose from, including battery electric and plug-in hybrid cars, bus, train, car sharing and car ride. A car ride is where someone gives you a lift into work. I'm going to select car, petrol, internal combustion engine. This opens the vehicle registration reference field, into which you enter your vehicle's registration number. The system uses this to obtain your vehicle's CO2 emissions from the DVLA website. For cars, vans and motorcycles, this gives us the most accurate emissions figure. If you drive a van to work, select the car option with the appropriate fuel type and then enter its registration number. This will give us the information we need. Once you've entered the registration number, you are asked to enter the distance in miles one way from where you live to your place of work. Please do not enter the return distance. We only want the distance one way. Next to the distance field is a green button marked Measure Road Distance. Clicking this will open up in a separate window an online mapping site. You can use this to determine the distance from home to your place of work. We explain this more fully in a separate video, the link for which is in the email you have received with your other login details. I'm going to enter 15 miles as the one-way distance to work. The next question asks, on average, how many times per week did you commute to work? The system will accept parts of days, so, for example, if during the period you alternated between 3 days one week and 4 days the next, you can enter 3.5 days. However, I'm going to enter 4 days. You are then asked, did you work from home during the period? I will select yes, which opens up two further questions. The first, on average, how many days per week did you work from home? I will enter 1. The final question, when working from home, provides two options. I turned on the heating when the weather was cold, and I didn't need to adjust the heating. We ask this question because heating can form a major part of the emissions resulting from home working. We only want to count the emissions that are the direct result of you working from home. If the heating was on during the day because others were in the house or flat, these emissions are not to be counted. I'm going to select I turned on the heating when the weather was cold. I will now click the green Submit button. This takes us to a page showing your answers and asking you to confirm that they are correct. I will click Confirm. This provides us with the weekly emissions from both your commute and any home working undertaken during the period. The emissions are split into two parts. Scope 3 Category 7, which is the category covering commuting and home working in the GHGi corporate standard. These are the emissions from fossil fuels and are what your organisation will need to report. The second category is outside of scopes. These are the CO2 emissions resulting from the biofuel element of a particular fuel. Biofuels are manufactured from organic material. Wood is still the largest source of biomass energy today. Other sources include food crops, grassy and woody plants, residues from agricultural or forestry, oil-rich algae, and the organic component of municipal and industrial wastes. Whether you report outside of scopes will depend on your reporting requirements. It is not required for SECR, Streamlined Energy and Carbon Reporting, required for large companies in the UK. Neither is it required for PN 0621, which covers large UK government contracts at £5 million and above. However, if you wish to report under the GHG corporate protocol, you will need to do so where possible. Your emissions from home working are shown separately. This is because the emissions are not currently a reporting requirement, but a recommendation. We're now going to look at a more complex example. This time we're going to assume a three-stage journey. The first is by car to the railway station, the second by train, and the third is by tram to the place of work. So we select the option for 3 different transport types, which immediately opens some additional fields. Clicking on the first drop-down, we will select Car Battery-Powered EV, a fully electric vehicle. You will notice that we have not been asked to provide the vehicle's registration number. This is because a battery electric vehicle does not produce any direct CO2 emissions. In the next drop-down, we will select Trains. Finally, in the third of the means of transport drop-downs, we will select light rail or tram. For the distance to the station, we are going to enter 5.7 miles. You will see that for stage 2, that selecting rail has changed the green Measure Road Distance button to Measure Rail Distance. If you click on it, you will be taken to a website that provides an accurate distance for rail travel. None of the online mapping systems like Google or Bing currently provides the track distance between railway stations. We will enter Loughborough as the starting point and Nottingham as the destination, then select Get Mileage. This provides a distance of 14 miles and 75 chains. As there are 80 chains in a mile, we will enter 14.94 miles. Lastly, we will enter a tram journey of 2.3 miles. For the question, on average, how many times per week did you commute to work? We will enter 3. Again, for the question, did you work from home? We will select yes. For the question, on average, how many days per week did you work from home? We will enter 2. Once more, we're going to select I turned on the heating when the weather was cold. Then we'll click Submit. This takes us to the data entry confirmation page so we can check the answers. Clicking on Confirm again takes us to the results page. Here you will see the emissions for each stage of the journey, followed by the total commuting emissions. Now, although a battery electric car has no direct emissions, it does have indirect emissions, resulting from the generation and distribution of the electricity used to charge the battery. However, these are considerably less than the emissions from an equivalent petrol or diesel vehicle. As I've said, these are your weekly emissions. To get your annual emissions, you need to take account of annual and statutory leave. Multiplying by 46 or 47 will give you a reasonably accurate figure for the year. I hope you found this video useful, and thank you for watching.